You are now listening to the A2J2 podcast.
Hello and welcome back to the A2J2 podcast, a podcast full of a panel that has been drafted in the first round as many times as Will Levis. But we'll talk about that here in a little bit. So it's good to be back in our complete form. Austin joining us. He's off of the IR, so we're glad to have you back, buddy. Since you last joined us, both of your teams have been eliminated from the playoffs.
Yeah,
So-
it was not a great week for me, medically
Yeah.
or sports wise until the draft.
Yeah, until draft, which is what we're going to talk about for the most of today's podcast. But we're going to start off with a little bit of update on our playoff predictions. So, Jordan, I'll swing that one over to you.
All right, so we'll try to make this pretty quick. Obviously, I think the big thing is both of my championship teams are already eliminated in the first round, so that's really cool.
That's good.
I'm kind of killing it so far. But I'm just keeping like a point system of our brackets. I'm doing first round, everybody gets a point for every correct team. Second round, 2 points. Conference Finals, 3. NBA Finals, 5. Whatever, if you get champion right, you get 5 extra points. Right now, Austin, you and James are leading the way. You got 6 of the 8 right. I'm sitting in, I guess, third. I've got 5. Andrew brings in the tail end of it with 4. So you were exactly 50% in the first round. But just to kind of recap some of the news around the NBA right now, how about Dylan Brooks and how about the Memphis Grizzlies saying that under no circumstances are they bringing him back? He better start to learn Chinese, Japanese, I don't know, wherever the hell he's going to end up because it's not going to be in the United States.
I'm pretty sure I said on like last week or week before's pod that he wasn't going to be there anymore.
You did.
So that was my clairvoyant moment. Doesn't take an expert to realize that it cancered the team, but it couldn't happen to a better guy.
He deserved everything that he got.
Absolutely.
Andrew, I just want to let you have your little victory lap, man. My Kings gave it a great battle, but I think honestly, at the end of the day, when you finally get all the emotions out of it, I think the better team won. The better team won.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Great series, though. You can't say enough about the Kings. They're definitely going to be back. Young team, exciting team. And it reminds me a lot of the 2012, 2013 early Warriors days. So they'll definitely be back for sure. But a great series overall.
Yeah, I agree.
I want to pose a question to you all while we're talking about that. Because Steph Curry had that ridiculous Game 7 scoring 50 points. But one of my students and I were talking about this today, and I want to get y'all's take on it. More impressive single game performance. Steph Curry's 50 in Game 7 or James Harden's 45 in Game 1 against the Celtics with no Embiid?
Steph Curry. It's still Curry for me just because the rest of his team, I mean, honestly, like it's not like the rest of his team was decent. The rest of his team was trash in Game 7. If Steph Curry doesn't do what he does in Game 7, the Warriors are eliminated. Whereas if James Harden doesn't do what he did last night, they lose Game 1. So it's just the situation that makes it a more impressive performance for me. But James Harden, man, I'm so happy to see him ball out because I've always liked James Harden. But I take Steph's performance.
It was a killer performance by Harden the other night. Insane. But I definitely am riding with Jordan on this one. It's just more of the crucial moment of Game 7. It's your team's not performing and you just put everybody on your back. I will say he's cheesy as hell. And every time he's like the camera, always got to get a viral clip. I hate that. I literally hate that about him. I love him as a person, love him as a shooter. It's just a problem. Like, not everything's got to be some cheesy, where's the beam? Where's the beam? No, stop. You're just cheesy. You're cheesy as hell. Like,
yeah, I liked Harden's reaction last night after that huge performance. Now, I would go with Steph too, but I think that it's closer than we're letting on because
I just think it's a situation.
Yeah, but the Celtics have had the Sixers number. If you go down 0-1, you put yourself in a tough situation, especially if you lose that game with a performance like that from Harden. That can be defeating too.
You also get the notion. I don't know if they're actually going to do this, but if you wanted to, you could free roll Game 2 and sit Joel again and give him a little more rest because you won Game 1.
Yeah.
So it's a thought process of, yeah, you want to go out and take the 2-0 lead, but you don't want to rush them back, especially now that you stole one on the road.
Yeah.
And so that
Yeah, I
gives you
mean, it's I just figured I'd throw that out there. But
yeah, no, I
I
like
don't.
it.
I also don't think Embiid comes back for game 2 yet.
I don't think so.
I don't think he would have if they won or lost. I think he's out for another one.
Yeah.
speaking of Joel Embiid, he has been announced as the NBA most valuable player.
Yeah,
So
I was going to get to that, which I think is a surprise to nobody.
No.
He deserved it. I think the Joker actually had the MVP, was the MVP favorite for about 75%, but Joel ended the season so strong, he deserved it.
I
Congrats
just like to
him.
see the NBA go into so 3 years in a row now we've had a center win
Big man.
MVP.
And
So,
and
like,
over
I
the
feel like
past 20 years, it's been a guard-dominated league.
so I feel like as somebody who grew up playing in the post, it's nice to see the post guys get their shine again, and that the
Yeah.
game is going back towards like having emphasis on
Mhm.
a solid post presence. So I
Mhm.
like that. But I wanted to be the one to announce that. So
That's awesome. Yeah, I appreciate that. So Andrew, I told you I think the better team won the series and the Warriors and the Kings. Let's move on to a series that I don't think the better team won. Austin, me and you, I wish you were closer so we could just cry on each other's shoulders, man. Rough first round, but an even rougher one for you because unlike you, I can say one thing. I'm proud of the Kings in that series. I don't think you can say the same about the Bucks, but I'll let you speak on that.
So since the game, I went on rants about Bud. I was in my group chat with my local Wisconsin friends, and we're
Mhm.
sitting there just ripping on Bud, and just how do you even keep timeouts? You don't hold timeouts. What are you doing? Like, you gonna use them in the off season? What are you doing? Like, it's just it's just game management and like not actually like altering how you're actually going to go up against a team when you see that they're beating you in a certain way and
sounds like
not
Jonathan
changing the
Gannon.
it literally is Jonathan Gannon, and I was ripping on this guy for 3 days straight
Mhm.
until I got to work one day, and then I realized,
Yeah,
this whole report comes out. His brother died, and he was trying to like get through it without having to go fly out and see his family and all this. And I'm like, oh man, I said some terrible things. I need to go to church. Like this is not good.
Yeah.
So I mean, do I give him a pass? No, maybe don't fire him this year. Give him one more shot at it, I guess, because maybe he wasn't mentally into it. But he does this every year. Every time that we're like get mad at him, it's because he's not coaching enough, and then we're in the same scenario. So I don't know. It might be time for Bud to hit the road.
Well, I think that you can also say for both of our teams, there was an injury that really changed the whole series. I think the injury
that
to
too.
Giannis, he never looked the same. The injury to Fox, he never looked the same. He like tripled his turnovers per game after his finger injury, so obviously he wouldn't be able to palm the ball. A back injury to a guy like Giannis is really going to affect the way that he plays. So yeah, they were out there, but it wasn't the same. And I'm not saying that's the reason that either of our teams lost the series, but it definitely has an effect on it.
You saw Giannis goes up for a layup, comes down, they call timeout, and he just bends over, and the trainer starts hitting him with the massage gun to the
Yeah.
back, just like like he's like repairing a car on a pit stop, like need to get this thing going again.
Well, because of the series that the Kings lost, we all get to witness another LeBron versus Steph series, so that's pretty cool. Man, I
Which
can't wait
we
to
all
see that.
predicted, right?
Yeah, we all predicted that, so really no surprise, but it's kind of cool just to see it happen again because it happened. When was the last time in the finals? It was 2018, 2017, something like that, and then all these years later, they're going up against each other in the postseason again, so that's pretty awesome. Another team I wanted to talk about is the Suns. Do you all think they're in trouble? Because Denver looks like they're dominating them right now.
Denver looks really good.
They look
Really good.
As you've said a couple times in the group chat, I think we really slept on them.
Yeah.
They have this recipe for success where Jamal Murray is showing out. Obviously, the Joker had a huge game last night. But yeah, I think they're in trouble, especially with CP3 being banged up.
Yeah.
Like I watched a little bit of that game last night, and there's just a couple of shots that KD didn't make that you have to have him making if you want to be in a series like this. So,
Absolutely.
I mean, it's just 2 games. When you have Booker and you have Durant, anything is possible. But DeAndre Ayton looks like crap. Like
Yeah.
he's gonna have to really step it up.
He can't stop the Joker right now. I mean, he's just
His effort is piss poor.
Yeah, it is. And honestly, I think the one thing that none of us saw, because we all knew Joker was going to put his numbers up, is Jamal Murray having the postseason that he's having. And if he continues to do that, Denver could win it all. I'm just calling it what it is. They could win it all.
Could.
So
They keep playing the way they play the way they just did in that game. The last
Yeah.
game was a game 1. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Not even
Yeah,
a
it's gonna
chance.
be
They
tough.
could run the house.
Yep, they could. And then just the last thing I want to talk about in the NBA. Man, I I texted the group chat as soon as it happened. Jimmy Butler landing on his ankle the way he did. That scared the ever living crap out of me, but I'm glad that the Heat went on to win that game because I think they were just like, if we win, we're sitting him in game 2, no matter what. Because again, they're free rolling. So, you already get a game on the road. Jimmy Butler is your team. So, but I just think that I love the fact that he came back. He couldn't do much. He went out there and like airballed a corner 3, and that's about all he did. But his presence
practicing
alone,
his 3-point shot in the corner.
yeah,
That's funny.
his presence alone just changes the game. So I'm hoping that he can come back when that series shifts to Miami, because like we've said a million times, he's been the story of the NBA playoffs thus far.
And they're not looking too bad right now either. Game's going on right now. It's 7 minutes left in the second quarter, but it's tied 35-all. So they're looking pretty good, it looks like. So
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Is Randall playing tonight?
Yeah, he is. He had 10 points in the first quarter.
Yeah.
I like Eric Spoelstra, man. I feel like he's always just a little bit underrated. He's always just kind of flown under the radar, even though he shouldn't, because like, oh, he had LeBron, he had Kyrie, not Kyrie, sorry, D Wade, all that, like, But I think I think he's a good coach. I think he's a really good coach.
Yeah, I think that Eric Spoelstra is top 5 coach in the NBA, and not enough people talk about how good he is. I agree 100%.
So, we'll give another update on the next podcast about one of the second round series will be over, maybe it won't. That's all we got on that.
No, we won't talk about the NHL predictions because they were terrible.
How about my Maple Leafs? Anybody? Anyone?
What about Andrews Kraken?
How about Andrews Kraken?
You can't stop the Kraken, dude.
All right. Well, that'll bring us to our break here in this episode. Like you said, we'll talk a little bit more about the playoffs in our next episode. Just keep our viewers updated and our predictions. But when we come back, we'll talk about our main topic for today, and that is reacting to the NFL draft. And just so y'all know, it's about to get obnoxious. All right, welcome back. Going to get into the NFL draft here. First topic we're going to touch on is can't spell Will Levis without multiple L's. And watching that man just sit in green room purgatory throughout the whole first round was just phenomenal. I did reach out to A2J2 viewer, our buddy Ethan Gillum, and tell him that I was going to try not to hate on Will Levis so much because I felt very vindicated with the fact that he did not go in the first round. This is something that I've been on that pedestal since last year when these way too early 2023 mocks came out. I was like, why? So I'm going to try to take it easy on the guy. Obviously, I'm going to continue to hate on him, but not quite as much. I'm going to try. I feel like this situation actually is probably the best thing that could happen to him because now he's got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. I felt like he was really cocky. Some of the owners and GMs thought he was arrogant, and that's one of the reasons that he fell. Plus, he drinks mayonnaise in his coffee, which is gross.
Weird.
Before I pass it off to somebody else, the funny thing that Mel Kiper kept saying was, well, he didn't have a line last year. He was beat up last year. He didn't have a line. The Titans don't have a line either now. Yes, they have Peter Skoronski, who they just drafted, and then they have 4 bags of poop blocking for him. So I don't know how you expect it to be any better. And also his best receiver is Treylon Burks, who is going into his second year, and he can't stay healthy. Yeah. So, but that's all I have to say about Will Levis.
You said that about green room purgatory, but he seemed to be doing all right to me. I don't know about you guys. Girlfriend on one side, sister
That's
on the other.
That's literally what I was going to call it.
Doing okay to me. But yeah. In all reality, man, couldn't, like you said, I'm gonna take a word for you. Couldn't happen to a better guy. Dropping to the second round was hilarious. Every single pick that went by and he didn't get picked, James celebrated. It was really funny. But especially like going to the Titans, which, the one thing that I've said about the Panthers and the number 1 overall pick and Bryce Young is they don't have a team around him. So Bryce Young's a great player, but he's not going to get any help. Will Levis is a mediocre player who has no help. So his career is starting off pretty bad, unfortunately for him. So, yeah, I mean, I'll root for Kentucky and everything, but I've told you since day one, I don't understand the hype. It's literally just his build. Like they just look at him like, oh, this is what I want a quarterback to look like. But then you actually watch his tape and you're like, what are you seeing here? So
Yeah.
Great throws against Western Kentucky, which people
yeah,
hype up. The best
Yeah.
case scenario for the Titans is to suck next year and hopefully be in a position to draft Marvin Harrison Jr.
yeah.
Did you guys also notice that in every highlight that they would pull up of like an SEC defensive player, it just happened to be Will Levis getting sacked?
Oh, yeah.
It was like
It did
everyone
seem
that
like
they
that a
did
lot.
during the first round. It was like they pulled up ACC players, they pulled up SEC players, and just every time it's look at Bryce Brissy here coming around the corner, boom, Will Levis. It's just like Murphy coming up the middle, Will Levis, and it's just like Nolan Smith was a Will Levis clip, Jalen Carter was a Will Levis clip. I was like, guys, like you don't have to keep doing it to this man. Like, come on.
Or you can. That's fine too.
It was. I mean, we'll give him his 1 point. His girlfriend was a smoke show, and we'll just that's
Yeah.
there you go.
Big
1
factor.
point, Will Levis.
1 point. That's funny.
Andrew, thoughts on Will Levis?
Dude, I've just ever since I saw the mayonnaise clip, I've just I didn't get the hype to begin with, but I hate mayonnaise in general, but I'm not a fan of the guy. I think he's overhyped, overrated. He played
So you
really
don't like
well.
mayonnaise on you don't like mayonnaise on anything? Just
Anything.
curious, like a good
No.
chicken sandwich or something?
No.
Like,
Nothing.
I guarantee
No shot.
this is because his mom bought Miracle Whip as a kid, put it in the
Oh.
fridge, and called it mayonnaise. And then he's just like, he's never actually tried real mayonnaise. So I
Yeah.
guarantee if he
Okay.
eats real mayonnaise, he'd like
He'll
it.
like
But
Real
his mind
mayonnaise-
is attached to it, thinking it's Miracle Whip.
Miracle Whip's gross. Real mayonnaise can be tough when it's put in the right situation.
Yeah.
And
All
it
right.
took
I'll
eating a
have to
college
take your
chicken
word
to
for
do
it,
that.
because
You're gonna have to
You
try it
gotta
at
get like
some
a nice aioli on the on a sandwich,
Ooh,
or
aioli.
like
Yeah, that's good. Oh
Garlic
yeah.
aioli.
Oh yeah.
so we're gonna have a
Listen
food
to
pod
Food
next.
Pod.
Yeah,
This is a
that's what I was
food
saying.
podcast.
next episode, we're cooking.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
We'll equate like players to foods on the next podcast. But that'll bring us to the fat of what we're talking about here. What three teams do you think had the best draft? I'm going to leave the most obvious for last for me. But I think the Ravens had a good draft. I like Zay Flowers. I think that he is in a position, like we said, he was going to be a bust if he got drafted by New York. I think that I hate to see Jalen Carter go there, or Jalen Hyatt go there. That kind of broke my heart. But Zay Flowers in a good position here. He gets to be under the tutelage of Odell Beckham Jr. They've locked up Lamar. Also, I really like the Trenton Simpson pick. I think that, if you look in some mock drafts early on in mock draft season, Simpson was a projected first-round pick. And the Andrew Voorhees pick late in the draft, I think, is a really good pick. The guard from USC, who was projected to be in like top 100 until he tore his ACL at the combine. I think that is a steal. I think that he can make a difference for them. Obviously not this year, but I think I wouldn't be surprised to see him starting for them next year. So I have the Ravens at 3. At 2, I have the Steelers. I think the Steelers had a really good draft. The Broderick Jones pick is good, as all the Steelers fans say. They're trying to build the picket fence in front of Kenny Pickett. Of course, they got Isaac Seumalo in the offseason. We all kind of had a feeling that Joey Porter Jr. was going to go there just to follow in his dad's footsteps. Fell to them at the beginning of the second round. Keanu Benton's a great pick from Wisconsin, too. High motor, solid defensive lineman. Darnell Washington, I know his knees are trash, but
he's huge.
He's humongous.
Yeah.
So I feel like that, and he doesn't have to be the guy there with Muth being there. I think that's a good pick. And then Nick Herbig, another Wisconsin guy, hardworking guy. It's a pretty solid draft there. And they had a couple other players, but yeah, Herbig's a good player. You just didn't hear a lot about him because Wisconsin was horrible last year. But of course, in my opinion, the best draft in the NFL draft was your Philadelphia Eagles. The guy, as I said when we did our mock draft, the guy who a couple months ago was the overwhelming overall number 1 pick in the draft, falls to us. We trade up one spot to get Jalen Carter at 9. Obviously, I was a little bit upset whenever Bijan got taken by the Falcons. I didn't think that pick made a whole lot of sense. I had a feeling that the Bears were just going to take Carter because they have a big need for guys like that. And then when I saw us jump up there and I knew we were about to take him, any negative feelings I had were erased. And if you'd have told me like a week, 2 weeks ago that we were going to land Nolan Smith, I would have just assumed we took him at 10 and that Carter was gone, or that we traded back and we took him. But no, we stayed put and we drafted him at 30, which why was he
Crazy.
available at 30? The
It's
man runs a
wild.
4.39 40. He's an absolute monster. He was like, if you look at his numbers, like everybody was in love with Anthony Richardson's combine. Show me something that he looked better than Nolan Smith at for his position. I mean, they're right next to each other. I know they like to say he's undersized, but as I've said to both Andrew and Austin here, you see him in that introductory press conference. Those arms don't look small. That's a big dog.
Yeah.
I like the Steen pick. You get a little bit of depth for the offensive line. He's probably going to have to step in and play guard once Kelsey retires. I'd say Juergens will play guard this year, get some experience, move to center. But then Steen is a guy that you can plug and play. He'll get a year or two under the best offensive line coach in the NFL, in Jeff Stoutland. Sidney Brown, I thought, was a good pick. He's very athletic. I like the kid. He seems very humble. He's a hardworking kid. Then Keely Ringo, which is a guy who was projected to go like in the top 20 in the draft in some of those way too early mock drafts, and we get him in the beginning of the third day. Big fan of that. Tanner McKee is really the only one that I don't really care about. I have a feeling that Howie's probably going to try to flip him for a pick here in a couple of years. But it's, we have Mariota signed to a 1-year deal, so if we decide we don't want him, we have a guy in our system that we've had. I really like the Moro Ojomo pick too. Austin, I sent you that video of him getting drafted. You can see how much it meant to him. If you watch his film, stud. He'll come in to be like our 11th guy on our depth chart because our defensive line is disgusting. Being a defensive line coach who is a Philadelphia Eagles fan, this was a beautiful draft for me. And then just the icing on the cake is acquiring Philly's own DeAndre Swift to come home. He had more receiving yards last year than all of our backs combined. I think he's perfect for our offense. I know people like to say he's injury prone. He's played 13 games, and 14 games in his 3 years in the NFL, so not that injury prone. He didn't get the ball enough last year. But even if he is, if we have him and Rashad Penny, who are both injury prone, surely they can get through a whole season between the two of them. And then we still have the guys we have behind them, Boston Scott and Kenny G. So great draft for the Eagles. Super, super pleased with how they did. So that's how I felt.
Before Jordan takes over and gives his winners, just one comment on that last running back thing. If he plays, all he needs to play is 15 games because we play 2 games against the Giants, and that's all Boston Scott. So it doesn't actually matter.
That's very true.
You only need 15 out of them.
That's accurate.
All right, continue.
So I think Philly's going to land in our top 3, all of ours. So I actually have an honorable mention, and it's just for one reason only, and that's the Colts. I love the fact they got Anthony Richardson, and they didn't move spots. I think that's the guy they wanted from the beginning. You look at their roster; he fits perfectly with who they've got, the weapons they have. We talked about his ceiling. I thoroughly believe in this guy, and I think that he's put in a good situation where the Colts could go, from the 4th overall pick to the playoffs next year because the division is, meh at best. And so I that's an honorable mention for me just because I really like that pick for them. My number 3 is actually the Chargers. I love their draft because they went out and got Quentin Johnston in the 1st round, which I think is going to be really good with Justin Herbert. They also got Tuli Tuipulotu from USC. Excellent edge rusher, a lot of speed. Just a guy he's a dog. I watched a lot of USC, and you go in and get him into the 2nd round. I think that's really good because their defense has always been a little bit suspect. So, and then you also get Max Duggan, who's going to probably back up Herbert if he even makes the roster. I still think Max Duggan's a dog, man. He's tough. So I really like that draft for the Chargers. For me, my number 2 is the Eagles. I think that if you go on their overall moves in the past couple weeks, they're number 1 because if you put in DeAndre Swift into that, I think they have to be number 1. But I can't really throw that in there because this is just on the draft alone. I love the Jalen Carter pick. I love the Nolan Smith pick. I know you, James, I know you hate Georgia. I've never hated Georgia. I love watching them. Their defense is incredible. The more Georgia players you can get, the better. So,
I'm fine with it. I'm glad to root for those guys.
Yeah, So I think they had a really, really good draft, and they were very fortunate that a lot of teams in front of them were not smart enough to take up the picks, like take those players in the picks there. Like you were talking about Chicago not going for Carter. That's crazy.
They did take a ball, though. Darnell Wright's a good pick there. I think he'll be a
Yeah, no,
solid
Darnell
backup for
Wright's a
them.
very good pick. They actually were just right outside my list because I think they had a pretty good draft as well. But my number one is actually, I know it's probably straightforward, is the Texans. I love just their first two picks, man. You get CJ Stroud and Will Anderson, and you're going in with a new coach. I just think this is a really, really good situation for the Texans. And then they also get James's favorite player, Henry To'oTo'o, in the fifth round. So I know you love that guy.
We'll just run slants against that guy, and you'll be fine. Because he's terrible at defending the slant. Piss on that guy.
But yeah, I think I think it's a really good draft for them. Hopefully, CJ Stroud ends up being better at football than he is at tests. So I think if they had the best draft, I mean, when they traded up to number 3, we were all just like sitting here like, what? But I think it's the right move. I think it's the right move for them because, I mean, they're pretty horrible. I mean, they need young, really good talent, and I think they got that. So.
Yeah, you might as well, especially with the state of that division right now. Trevor Lawrence is the elder statesman there going into his third year, because by the end of the year, Will Levis will end up as the starter for Tennessee by the end of the year, and you'll have 3 rookie quarterbacks and Trevor Lawrence. So why not? If you like those guys, who cares about the pick next year?
Yep, agreed. Awesome.
Very similar, still a little bit changed up. My number 3 team is actually the Texans. I put them at 3. I mean, I feel like they deserve to be on every single one of the lists.
Mm-hmm.
You have CJ Stroud, and then immediately, like, you obviously had your guy. Didn't matter what these reports were. The whole, like, 2 weeks before, we had all these reports where CJ Stroud was sliding. I moved him down my mock draft in my league. Didn't really matter. And then you trade back up, and you still go get Will Anderson. That's insane.
That everybody's saying that you were going to get anyway. So yeah.
Yeah, you got both of them. You got both those guys immediately. And then a big playmaker, I think, actually will be a factor in this is pick 69, Nathaniel Dell. Hey, he's from Houston. He's got a love for the team. Like, he's like literally a Houston boy. Went to Houston for university, got drafted by Houston. You don't think that kid's not going to put that on his back and be like, I got to carry my city? Like, he's going to have so much drive for that team. I love that.
I love the reports that came out from, like, the Senior Bowl where him and Stroud, like, really bonded. I don't know if you've read that. But basically, as soon as the Texans drafted Stroud there, he was like, hey, you guys got to go get Tank Dell because he's a dog. So I like that pick too. Yep.
Just straight up Houston boy. It's going to fit perfectly for them. My number 2 team actually is Seattle. And I think they just had a great draft. They didn't really need these things, but they covered and got the best players available at the moment. And that was Devin Witherspoon with their first pick, best corner in the draft, and just solid lockdown guy. They're going to put him with Woolen. Was Woolen? Yep. Him on the other side, beautiful. That secondary is going to get built up. They just need to go find another safety, and I think that thing's a lockdown secondary. Then they go immediately and go get Jackson Smith and Jigba, which I think a lot of teams messed up not taking him. The Packers right in front of them. Who else was right there? Can't think of him.
Anybody can use a guy like that. I don't know how he gets to 20.
Yeah.
Insane. Think about that wide receiver core. You have DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and Jackson Smith and Jigba, which he's a footwork guy. You give him Tyler Lockett to learn off of? Oh, beautiful. Like, he's going to just be Tyler Lockett too, which undervalued wide receiver in the NFL. I think he's always gone under the radar. I think it's a perfect fit. Perfect fit for Geno. Let Geno eat. And then obviously, I just want to mention, I think my 3 biggest winners of the draft, though, were 3 quarterbacks that didn't get picked players to go behind them. And it was Kirk Cousins, Mac Jones, and, I can't think of the other one now. I had it on earlier. It was Jared Goff. Yeah, that was it.
They got Hooker.
They did get Hooker. What was it? Yeah. All right, well, there's those 2. We'll count those 2 quarterbacks as winners. I think they just showed that their team didn't take the drive because Hooker and Levis slid down past everybody. So I
Yeah,
mean, you just
but
showed you.
New England still may think that Zappy might be the guy if Mac Jones isn't. So they might feel like they've already got that young guy.
Kirk Cousins has this next year left, and you don't have anybody. Like you didn't even prepare for that. Like nothing at all. You're just gonna go into it. Just okay, cool.
Because they're not gonna suck enough to be in play for Caleb Williams.
No, they're not.
So
No. So
they'll be like a 7 to 10 win team.
And even if the Packers suck enough, they have 2 first-rounders to go get all the way up to 1 and take Caleb Williams. So it's like you're gonna have that in your division. You don't have anything prepared for the future. It's just weird to me. But obviously, the winner is the Philadelphia Eagles. It might just be the homer pick. It might just be the fact that I'm wearing Eagles gear. That guy's wearing Eagles gear, and the other guy's wearing Eagles gear, and this guy's sitting here holding back tears. I'm sorry that.
I don't care. Truthfully, show me what you can do on the field before. I mean, I don't celebrate shit before anything happens. I mean,
hey, okay, all right, but I'm just saying you can't really beat that draft. It kind of all just fell into their hands. I mean, the moving up for Carter. I mean, I think we're giving Howie a little too much credit for the fact of how it went because all these players just kind of slid to him. It wasn't like it was really he's hunting around for him. It was Carter. He had to go get up and get, but it was 1 pick, and then Nolan slid down that entire board, which I'm sitting there just. Oh, wow, there's 3 players I'd want right here. Like, I can't believe this. We're at 30, and there's 3 players I'm totally okay with them taking, and I'm going to be hype on it. And so that slid to them. I kind of wanted them to pick Hyatt just so we could get rid of Quez, but that's just Quez hate. And then we take Steen, which is he's going to be a solid guy under Stoutland. Love that. Then Ringo. Ringo should have been higher up too, but it just slid down the board, landed in Howie's lap. It's just kind of how it goes. So I don't think Howie's getting a lot of credit for just a lot of things sliding into place, but I think it was a great draft, and it literally was the easiest draft board ever. He just literally wrote down Georgia, Alabama players, take them when available. Perfect, got it. Sounds good. We can do that. So I think he gets a lot of credit, but it was a great draft. That's all.
Props to him for staying pat, though, there at 30 because he could have traded up and tried to get Nolan, and he let him fall into his lap.
Fair enough. True. But I feel like there was like 4, as I was saying, there was like 4 picks at that time that I was like, in front of it was like Miles Murphy. It was like
Joey Porter Jr., Brian Branch.
Joey Porter Jr., Nolan, and Breesy? No. There was one more that was
before. Yeah,
so there was like 4 guys. I'm like, oh, I'm totally okay with this. And we were like 5 out. And I was like, we're going to get one of them I like. That's all that matters. And so I think it all just slid perfectly to him. A lot of weird picks this year.
As far as mine goes, my top 3, it's pretty similar to James's actually. I've got the Colts as 3rd. Like Jordan said, Anthony Richardson. I feel like he's the quarterback to me in my mind with the highest ceiling. I feel like with his performance, I know you can't always judge on field at the combine, but with his performance at the combine, how many records he broke, how well he looked.
He also had absolutely no help at Florida. Like if you actually look at the film, there's so many drop passes and stuff. No wonder he had no confidence,
Exactly.
And I like him in the Shane Steichen offense too, because obviously like he's not Jalen Hurts, but I mean Shane Steichen knows how to use a guy that people are doubting passing and that can use his feet. So I think that's a very good situation for Richardson, and I'm glad Steichen's there because if he wasn't there, they probably would have gone Levis because they love big, boring white guys.
Which Steichen's offense is literally 8 plays that then they change the routes off of the package they see in front of them. So it's kind of like it's not a lot for the quarterback to remember. It's more for your core and line to remember. So I mean, he only needs to remember 8 formations to go line up. It's not like you're putting a lot of stress on the player, and then it's just you need it. He needs the drive to learn how to read the defense and progress his arm. And that's
Did y'all see Anthony Richardson's like 13-year-old brother with like a neck tattoo and a deeper voice?
I saw that, dude.
Yeah, that was insane.
That was wild.
Yeah. That was crazy. Austin, that's funny that you bring that up. I had down that the one worry I had for Richardson was maybe the IQ level. I didn't know if a more complex offense would, I guess, disrupt his ability to kind of reach that higher level. So I agree with you there. And And then he also got a pretty good weapon, I think, in Josh Downs as well. A future weapon there. So I had the Colts at third. Second, I had the Steelers. I believe, James, you also had the Steelers at second.
I did.
Let's see. They looks like they needed a pass protector and a cover man as well. So they got both of those in Jones and Joey Porter. So let's see. So I had the Steelers at second. Like you guys, I also had the Eagles at first. I feel like how this draft kind of lined up perfectly. It seemed like, I mean, maybe it's because I have a little favoritism in there. Maybe I'm a little biased, but it just seemed like the draft, every pick just kind of fell right into the Eagles' lap. How Jalen Carter dropped to as far as he did, and like James says, we were all watching it live, so it was kind of cool to see. Right when you think he's just out of reach, out of nowhere, the Eagles are up to pick, and he just falls right in our lap. It's just, I don't know, it was just kind of perfect.
Like when we picked Devontae. Like, I just knew that Devontae was going to get picked by the Giants, and we jumped them. Us and the Cowboys conspired to screw over the Giants, which was hilarious.
I'm always down for that.
But yeah, I personally definitely think the Eagles were the best draft this year. And I'm definitely excited to see what we can do if we can just win one more game next year.
Yeah.
That's the hope.
Yeah. I like that we said, our issue wasn't offense last year. It was not being able to get to Patrick Mahomes. And as they said on the NFL draft, the field did have something to do with that. But the more dogs you have, I mean, you look at the holes that we had, we filled them all. We just did. Jalen Carter comes in and he'll replace Javon Hargrave. Do I think he's going to have a season like Hargrave had last year? That's an awful lot to expect out of a rookie.
Yeah.
But, his ceiling is ridiculous. He's getting to work with these guys that he's been with for a really long period of time. He's in a locker room that has built this culture. Nolan Smith, dude, I'm going to go ahead and we said, how did your team do? And I'll let Jordan speak on this, but I'm going to jump to the next point. Nolan Smith is the player I'm most excited about in this draft class. If you watch the guy speak, I think that he is the future Brandon Graham of this locker room. He is vocal. He is a lovable dude, big personality. Very excited to have him in the locker room. He gets to learn behind his pro comp in Hassan Reddick. And, he will be deployed every now and then this year. He doesn't have to come into a situation where he is expected to play. I think Jalen Carter will probably have to start. He'll obviously have to work for that, but I think he has to start. But I'm really excited for Nolan Smith. And then, we lose Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. We pick up Sidney Brown to go along with the guys we have. We picked up Edmonds, and we have Reed Blankenship, so he doesn't have to play right away, but his athleticism is great. So I'm very excited, but I'll let Jordan talk about we've already talked about how we thought our team did, but I am very, very excited for Nolan Smith. I think that going Jalen Carter is a little cliche, and I really like the guy, and he's very smart. Him and Nakobe both are engineering and mathematics majors, so it's nice to have those guys on your side.
Yeah, so I'm really torn when it comes to the Cowboys. I think that they had a very fundamentally sound draft. I don't think there was anything outstanding. They got what they needed, and they ran with it. I'm really upset with Buffalo jumping in front of us and getting Dalton Kincaid, because that's a guy I've been saying for a long time that I wanted, and I'm sure that's who the Cowboys wanted. But I actually like the Mozzie Smith pick, just because one of our biggest weaknesses, actually our biggest weakness defensively, is run defense. We were bottom of the league in that. And this is not a guy that's going to really do anything spectacular, over the top, whatever. But it's a big body in the middle, and that's what we need. The guys that we have there at the defensive tackle position are kind of unknown guys. So I think it was the right pick, and I also sort of think that they just weren't in love with Michael Mayer, because that would have been kind of the thought process is, all right, you're probably going with a tight end anyways. They probably just looked at Luke Schoonmaker out of Michigan, and just said, you know what, like, I like him just as much as I like Michael Mayer. Let's go get somebody else in a position of absolute need in the moment. So, if I were to give them a grade, I'd probably go a B, just because I don't think they did anything wrong. I just think that they didn't make any splash hits. Another pick that I love is Deuce Vaughn. I've always liked Deuce Vaughn out of Kansas State. Very undersized, obviously, but I mean, we need a backup running back, and he can be explosive. There's no doubt about that. Slippery, tough to tackle, all that good stuff. And his dad works for the Cowboys, so that was pretty cool. The fact that he got
really
when he got drafted.
I hated how much that video touched my heart.
Yeah,
because it's the Cowboys, but that was
really
cool.
It might have touched your heart until Mike McCarthy started talking, and then everybody's just like, okay, just shut
All
up.
right. All right,
we're done with this. But yeah, no, I think that was a huge pickup in the 6th round because Deuce Vaughn was electric in college, and I know the size is going to be an issue, but he's not going to ever be our number 1 back, I don't think. He could be a very, very good passing down back, though. You look at guys like Austin. You look like guys like Austin Eckler, like smaller guys that are quick feet, tough to tackle. That's what I look at Deuce Vaughn could be like. I don't think he'll be as good as Eckler, don't get me wrong, but that kind of play style. So, again, I'd probably give him a B just because there was nothing splashy, but I think they made the right picks when they needed them.
Yeah.
Could you imagine the Giants if every team in the NFC East just drafts a really, really small running back that they just use only against the Giants? Oh my gosh.
I promise you.
Every week.
I will pay everybody on this podcast $5 if Deuce Vaughn doesn't get at least 1 touchdown against the Giants this season. I really think that he will.
He probably will. And then, did you go on to player you're most excited about? Do you mean
I said Nolan Smith, so go ahead.
Do you mean your team or overall?
My team, your team.
Okay. I mean, it's Deuce Vaughn. I'm most excited to see Deuce Vaughn because I think he has the most electric ability. I don't know, it's just that there's not that much excitement when you draft a first-round defensive tackle. There's just not that much. I'm sorry, it's just not that exciting because, the work that they do, I mean, I hope it helps our run defense, but I mean, I don't know if it will. I really don't. I don't know if we have the linebackers that can cover the run either. So, we'll see. I think it was a position of need. I'm excited to see Schoonmaker too, but I don't think he's going to be our starting tight end. I think that's going to be Ferguson still. So, he's not going to. I'm excited to see Deuce Vaughn, and if Pollard's not 100%, he's going to get a lot of playing time, and I'm just excited to see what he can do. I've always liked the guy, anyways. So.
Something I've heard 1,000 times. I have to just say real quick. Do you know that Ferguson is Barry Alvarez's grandson?
I've heard that 40 times too, and I'm not even from up there. So.
Oh my gosh, I hate that. Every time he came on the TV, that's Barry Alvarez's grandson. Every time, and he caught 12 passes a game. It'd be every time.
Hold on, but did you know that Ryan Fitzpatrick went to Harvard?
It's the same thing.
Apparently.
Yeah, it is the same thing.
What?
Hey, did you guys know Will Levis didn't get drafted in the first round? So.
So to get to my team, I think I preached pretty hard about the Eagles. I preached about all their picks. One thing I didn't touch on in my list that I just totally remembered I wanted to was Seattle Zach Charbonnet. I just really like that pick too. I know they have Kenneth Walker, but they like a two back system. It's just what they like. So I mean, fair enough. It's what they're gonna do. I know fantasy dynasty owners were sitting here. No, my Kenneth Walker stocks, and that's the way they run their offense. They always have. They always have 2 backs. It's just a thing. But I like that pick for them. I think he'll fit in really well and he's gonna do well. But to the Eagles, I think it's Keely Ringo, and it's not because my mom's name is Keely. It's strictly I think he is.
We're all thinking.
It's exactly what I was thinking.
He's got in this podcast that actually knew that fact.
That's facts. That's facts.
Yeah,
stiff hips, stiff shoulders is his problem. When he gets people past him, it's just if you can have him fixed, it's like, oh wait, he almost has 2 of the best corners in the league that are old wise heads to go teach this kid how to play this. I love that, and I think he's going to do great with learning underneath Slay and getting his footwork down. That's Slay and Bradbury. I think will make that kid. He's not going to do anything this year. He might come in rotationally, maybe in the nickel if Avonte Maddox gets hurt, which happens every single year for at least 4 games a year. So I mean,
that'll be Greedy Williams.
Oh, forgot we have Greedy. We have just, oh my gosh, this defense, it just rotates so well. Oh gosh. Oh, I'm so excited right now. But no, I think he's not going to do much this year, but I feel like you give him a few years to learn. He's got some great teachers, and I think it'll be a great pick.
I guess that leaves me. I am gonna go with James on this one. I've got Nolan Smith. James actually sent me a couple of clips, and after the draft, and I mean, if he can do that out there against NFL talent, like it's gonna be scary. We needed the defense against Patrick Mahomes this year, so if it's a rematch next year with those guys, I'm 100% confident in it. So I'm excited to see if he can do that. What he did in college, if he can do that in the pros, it's going to be exciting. So
Yeah, big Nolan Smith guy, big character guy, a guy that'll be good for the locker room, and be a guy that can keep Jalen Carter's head on straight. I just gotta have him stay healthy, but he's had a lot of time to stay healthy. So early predictions. Let's do offensive rookie of the year first. I actually made my prediction to Jordan and Andrew on draft night, and I'm sticking with it. I know the favorite right now is Bijan Robinson. Betting odds are plus 300. I like Zay Flowers. I don't know. Something's telling me that he's going to be a guy that is big for the Ravens this year. Those little quick slot guys are guys that Lamar likes to lean on. His current betting odds are plus 1,800. I like Zay Flowers. I think that he fits that system very well, and he will be deployed in a way that really utilizes his skills. So that's what I have.
I like it because you're going away from the norm. I'm also going away from Bijan Robinson, but I'm going with probably my favorite receiver in the draft, and getting put in a pretty good situation. I'm going Quentin Johnson with the Chargers. I think that the Chargers have now three solid receivers. Keenan Allen gets a lot of coverage to him. I think Quentin Johnson's going to be open a lot. He's got Herbert throwing it to him, so I just think he's going to have a big year. He's a huge guy, a lot of speed. So yeah, I'm going Quentin Johnson.
He also has two receivers in front of him that get hurt all the time.
Yeah.
He was just speaking there. Jordan was just speaking, and I was just seeing trees of Vietnam and helicopters flying by because it was just TCU receiver picked at 21, speedster. He's got great potential. I was having flashbacks, Vietnam flashbacks.
Yeah,
right
it's
there.
disgusting.
Terrifying. Not to hate on that, but just too much PTSD from Mr. Rager. But my pick is Jahmyr Gibbs, and you have to look. They moved up to get their guy all the way up at 12. They moved back, but they had two picks. They took him at the first pick of it. Jahmyr Gibbs. It's the most touchdowns that are left available from last year to this year. Think about it. They lost Swift. They lost Williams. Williams led the league in touchdowns on the ground. Those are available.
In
that offense, they're there. I know they added Montgomery, but then Swift had touchdowns too. That offense just has so many touchdowns available in yards. I'm gonna put my money on Jahmyr Gibbs for rookie of the year.
I'm gonna go a bit more risky than you all. I'm stepping away from Bijan Robinson as well, so I'm gonna go with I'm going with my heart here.
No.
So it's a long shot.
He's playing with Daniel Jones.
I don't care.
There's no chance.
My heart says Jalen Hyatt. So
There's no chance.
I'm going Jalen Hyatt. I'm going with a heart pick.
I'll buy you a steak dinner from the Chop House if Jalen Hyatt wins rookie of the year.
I'm gonna hold you to that.
Brewery, Jordan.
Bet the brewery.
Yeah, I love Jalen Hyatt. He's dead to me now because he plays for the Giants.
Yeah.
I hope that they end up trading him away to a contender like they did with Tony.
I hope so as well. I'm all for him coming to the Eagles. So,
I had a feeling you were going to do something like that.
Yeah, that's my heart pick, head pick. I'm going Bijan Robinson. So, but with my heart, I'm going to go Hyatt.
I don't even know what his betting odds are, but
probably pretty high up there.
My defensive rookie of the year, the current favorite is Will Anderson at plus 350. I think that Will Anderson is in a ridiculously good situation for him because he gets to be coached by D'Amico Ryans. I think that is a match made in heaven.
Mhm.
But that's not who I'm going with because he plays for the Texans. So they can put a lot of attention on him. I'm going with the guy that Austin mentioned earlier. Give me Devin Witherspoon. I really like Devin Witherspoon. I think that I agree with you, Austin. He was the best corner in this draft. Some people would say Gonzalez, who slid down some boards. Devin Witherspoon is in a position where he's going to have to prove himself quickly because Tariq Woolen showed out last year and showed what kind of dog he is. So I feel like Witherspoon's going to get challenged quite a bit. And I think that he will be up to that challenge. Big physical corner. He's not just a cover guy. He's a guy who will come up and be a factor in the run game, but he can also cover really well too. His current betting odds are plus 900. I really like Devin Witherspoon. I think that he is going to be an absolute stud for them, and I think that they are slowly but surely rebuilding the Legion of Boom with him and Tariq Woolen in the last two drafts.
Yeah. I love Witherspoon too, but I don't think he's the best corner in the draft, and that's who I'm going with for my defensive rookie of the year. I said it all draft night. Why is this guy falling down the board? Why is this guy falling down the board? Then you let him join a defense of Bill Belichick's. I'm going Christian Gonzalez. I just think that this is a perfect situation for him. No matter how many struggles the Patriots have had, it's really not been defensively, and I think that's because Bill Belichick's still one of the greatest defensive minds of all time. So I think he's going to have a huge year. Big guy, 6'2", 200 pounds. So I think he's a physical quarterback, and I think he's going to have a good year. I really think so. Plus, you have some decent pass rush that the Patriots have is going to lead to some opportunities for him. So I'm going Christian Gonzalez.
And I like both those picks. Those are probably my two favorite corners in the draft. But I'm just gonna go with my heart's talking, and I'm going with the guy who's wearing green socks, and it's Nolan Smith. And I know he's only going to play about 40% of the snaps, but I feel like this man can still get 8-9 sacks with 40% of the snaps. We have that NASCAR package. I know they're going to just stick with the same rotational defensive line that we always go to, and you're going to see it's either going to be Hassan Reddick on that side or Nolan Smith. And imagine being the defender having to stop that speed and the offensive tackle sitting on that right side, and you're like, oh, finally I get a break. Oh gosh, Hassan's finally out. You look over and it's a kid that runs faster. Oh God, that's terrifying. That just annoys me. Like you don't even have a break as that right tackle, and I think he can get 8-9 sacks this year. So I'm going Nolan Smith, defensive player of the year, rookie defensive player of the year.
I like that. I don't know he'll get used enough, but I like it.
40% of the snaps, I think he'd still get 8 or 9.
I've actually got the exact same thing. I was gonna go Nolan. Like I said, James, you really hyped me up on him when you were sending me those highlights. You sent me several, and I mean he's explosive. He's
His
undersized.
hands are unreal, dude.
He's undersized though, so there's that holding him back. But I think he's going to have a great year. I don't think he's going to get that many snaps as well, 40, 50% surely. But I agree. I got Nolan Smith.
He, in my opinion, he won't get enough snaps. He's a phenomenal
Yeah.
player. I just don't think there's a chance.
Yeah.
So look at it this way: all edge rushers last year, just three of them had 39.5 sacks. You're rotating a guy who's got the same physical attributes as Hassan Reddick, who had 17.5, to put him on that side of that in that system. I think in 40% of the snaps, that gives you, if Hassan played, I think he played, 70 something? Mm-hmm. You're going for 40%. I'm thinking 30, 40% of the snaps gives you about 8 or 9. And I think that's enough to get you locked up. If a rookie comes out there and gets 8 or 9 sacks in a season, you're looking at an easy talk of rookie defensive player of the year.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it'll be fun to see. Only time will tell. We can come back and revisit this in the future, but it'll be fun to do. But that will wrap this one up, boys. It's been fun. Now we are in an absolute dead zone of football until the preseason starts. So living off of this one, and we'll be talking about other stuff going forward. But been good.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate everybody who has stuck with us this far. Thank you as always. Like, subscribe, and share with your friends. And until next time, go Birds.
Go Birds.